Great to be here. Let me just recognize some of the members of my team. We got Darren Heaton, Executive Director of Science of Sport, and Carly Stevenson, our coordinator. I'm a small part of something bigger, and also want to recognize the LA Dodgers Foundation and the LA84 Foundation for funding our work. So one of the things Renata asked me to do is to stop talking about the problem and start talking about solutions. I mean, talk about being to the point. Great. So, Renata, I've got some solutions. And I also have a call to action. So I'm going to start with that up front. My call to action for you is when you're trying to address a complex problem like play equity, you must look at it from multiple perspectives. That's it. It's not rocket science. I'll repeat it. When dealing with a complex issue, make sure you look at it from multiple perspectives, because then you can come up with better solutions. So let's talk about perspective a little bit more. And we have some shared humanity here in the room. So let's see, raise your hand if you're a coach. All right, great. Raise your hand if you're a teacher. Raise your hand if you're a learner. Raise your hand if you're an optimist. Raise your hand if you're a troublemaker. Excellent, good. So all those perspectives matter because they help you problem solve. So I want to tell you, even though I'm a college professor, I have a learning disability. And that is that I do not understand the word no. Raise your hand if you have that same disability. Excellent. So let's talk about perspectives because they matter a whole lot. Yes, I'm on a college campus, but I also work with kids in elementary school and middle school to get them to appreciate math and science through sports. I also have a role at the university as the NCAA and Pac-12 representative, and I work with our student athletes on campus. We have 22 sports and 500 student athletes on our campus. And my role is to make sure that they are successful in their sport, but also successful in their classroom, and that they stay eligible throughout the season. So part of it is I always have to change my perspective, and I want to give you something to take back to do with your group. It's a very simple demonstration on how you can help somebody change their perspective in a matter of seconds. This requires all of you to stand up. Stand up. Put your right index finger up in the air and very slowly draw a circle clockwise over your head, like a halo. And if you don't know which way is clockwise, just look at the person next to you. Slow clockwise circle above your head. Okay? Keep looking up at that circle. Make sure it's going clockwise. Okay? Now slowly start bringing your hand down to about eye level. And keep going slowly down to about chin. Keep bringing it down to about chest level and now belt level. Which way is your hand moving? If you did it correctly, it should be going counterclockwise. We're going to do that again. Let's start. Clockwise circle above your head. Very slow, not very big. And slowly start bringing your hand down to about eye level, down to your chin, down to your chest, and finish at your belt level. Look down on it. Is it now moving counterclockwise? Good. Round of applause. You can have a seat. I'll be demonstrating it after my talk if you want to see it again. So what just happened? It's the same physical movement, but now you're looking at it from a different perspective. And that same movement looks polar opposite, right? And that's, I think, how you can start to tackle some of the issues in play equity. When you start looking at it from a different perspective. Did anybody try playing ping pong in a wheelchair out here in the lobby? Who doesn't usually sit in a wheelchair? They're still doing it back there. Good job. So by playing ping pong in a wheelchair, you're changing your perspective. You're walking in somebody else's, in this case, chair. Not walking, but you're navigating in their chair. And now you're seeing it from their perspective. So on our college campus and all NCAA campuses, we have what's called Title IX, which is the gender equity federal law that is supposed to give equal access to men and women. So on the surface, it looks great because it gives the same number of scholarships to men, 10 to women, and the same facilities to men and women, and the same coaching to men and women. But when you start peeling back the onion, I don't think it's actually very equitable yet. We have a little bit of work to do. Many reasons why. Think about who the highest paid people are on college campuses. It's not professors. It's not the university president either. It's the men's basketball coach or the football coach, right? So what does that tell you about equity? Who gets to fly on charter planes to Pac-12 games? The men's basketball team or the football team? Who gets to fly coach? The women's golf team. So even though on paper it shows the same number of scholarships, it's not a perfect system yet, but we're working in that right direction. You can also look at equity from the racial side, of course. Now, we all know that African American males are disproportionately represented on college basketball and football teams. It's obvious when you watch the games on TV. And so you could argue that the sport and the scholarship is opening doors that otherwise would not be open to them. I think that's fair, okay? But the problem is that they don't graduate at the same rate that their counterparts do. And I'm not comparing them to the rest of the student body. I'm comparing them to other African American males on our campuses who are not playing the sport. So where is the equity if we're not enabling them to graduate, and also we're not enabling them to get degrees that are highly marketable? So yes, maybe you did graduate and you got a degree that doesn't differentiate you. So you have to look for other creative ways of differentiating yourself against others in the marketplace. So it's not a perfect system, but again, we're working towards it. One of the things that happened yesterday, if you follow the news, is AB 206, which is the state law or state bill that was voted on 72-0 in the California state legislature, that's going to support the ability for student athletes to get paid, student athletes who are competing in NCAA sports to now get paid. And the act is called Fair Pay for Play. Now, the NCAA in Indianapolis is actually against this bill because they claim it threatens amateurism status. And their argument is if you're getting paid to do something, then you're no longer an amateur, you're now a professional. But I think the fact that this bill got voted on 72-0 and the governor of California has 30 days to sign it is an indicator that the system is not perfect, that these college athletes are generating a lot of money for the universities, a lot of money for the NCAA, and they only get a scholarship, whereas their fair market value is much higher than that. And I'm talking about March Madness, which is the number one revenue generator for the NCAA, and I'm talking about all the bowl games, okay? So those are the things that really indicate that it's not necessarily a purely equitable system yet. And I'll tell you, the face of college athletics is going to change in the next 30 days. Because if the governor signs that bill, then California would be the first one to allow student athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness. So we'll see where that goes. So I want to leave you with this call for action, which is when you're dealing with a complex issue, you always change your perspective, okay? Now, the thing that I want to teach you about baseball is the most important number, which is the number 9. So we're going to play a quick game. I'm going to ask you a question, and the answer to that question is 9. Okay? How many players on the field? How many batters in the batting lineup? How many innings in a game? Man, you are good. How many games in the regular season? 162. Good job. What's 1 plus 6 plus 2? Half of those are home games, 81 home games. What's 8 plus 1? When you run from home plate to first base, how far do you run? 90 feet. What's 9 plus 0? To score a run, you go all the way around the bases. 90 feet times 4. 90 times 4 is 360. What's 3 plus 6 plus 0? Excellent. Okay, think of your age. It should be a 2-digit number. You don't have to say it out loud. Take those 2 digits and add them. Take that number and subtract it from your age. You should be left with 2 numbers. Add them up. What do they add up to? Great. Thank you. Change your perspective.